You know, I got a feeling this one's gonna be extra spicy. Tell us your unpopular race hot takes.
Us D&D players can never really get enough. Whether you play 3 times a week or once a month, part of you always craves more. We get our fix however we can, by watching short stories online, D&D live streams, Baldur's Gate. Well, allow me to offer you something new. The best available follows a party of new adventurers trying to make a name for themselves in hopes of being sponsored in a competition. Waterdeep's Festival of Heroes, which sees the chosen parties delving into the depths of Undermountain, risking life and limb to suppress the evils and monsters below to protect the city above. The Dungeon of the Mad Mage is filled with danger, treasure, glory, and mysteries yet to be revealed. Come watch the journey from humble beginnings into heroic legend as we adapt a campaign years in the making into an illustrated web series with art from Doodle Poodle, author of Tales from the Tables. We pride ourselves in converting hours-long sessions into smoothly paced episode with limited animation, music, blood, sweat, and tears. Get in on the ground floor of something great and join the Forever DMs table today. Link in the description.
I hate cute goblins. Goblins can be adorable chaos monkeys, yes, but I hate that I basically can't look up goblin art anymore without half of the art just being green halflings with big ears, basically. That's not what goblins are, and it's okay that it isn't. They can still fulfill their adorable chaos monkey role without being traditionally cute or even hot. Not everything has to be traditionally cute or hot. Things are better if everything isn't. Why couldn't the Shadar Kai just be Shadowfell elves? We got super fey wild elves in the Eladrin, oceanic elves and sea elves, vaguely forest elves and wood elves. They are basically the Eevee of races. Why did their lore have to be tied to the Raven Queen? Picking a race that stands out from a crowd means your PC stands out from a crowd. A giant elephant walks through a city with 99% humans, elves, and dwarves? Oh, you're not blending in. DMs should make their views on playable races and their desired party demographics very clear before starting the campaign. Do you want a pure Lord of the Rings style campaign? Are you good with a single party Chewbacca for flair? Are you chill with any race but are sick of tieflings? All of these are totally acceptable, but they do need to be talked about. If you don't have any conversation about it, you only have yourself to blame for the ensuing furry convention. Oh God, light it on fire. Tieflings have become so commonly chosen that they've become more vanilla than humans. You should add more backstory details as you play. If you get a cool, fitting idea that adds to the character and doesn't affect the narrative, guess what? Add it! Oh, too many races have Darkvision. I can't tell you how many times I've started describing a dark room to set the atmosphere, only to be interrupted by half the party saying, "I have Darkvision!" So I take it away from a lot of races where it doesn't really make sense for them to have it. I do give alternatives sometimes where it does make sense, but for the most part, I try to stay away from Darkvision. Kenku being unable to have free thought or talk without mimicking just tends to make them a go-to for people looking to troll a game more often than not. Your character isn't interesting because of their race if you don't roleplay in a way that reflects what it means to be a member of said race. To be clear, I don't care if you play whatever race you want, but if you go on about how cool your character is just because of their race and class, then your character isn't actually interesting. However, if you play a character whose race actually matters to them, impacts their worldview, and affects their interactions with people, then you're going to have more depth than treating race as merely cosmetic. Otherwise, your elf is really just a human with pointy ears and nothing more. Again, I don't care if that's all you're trying to frame it as, but your elf isn't more interesting than a human if nothing about your elf reflects them actually being an elf. You elf? Furbolgs do not look like cow people. Or really like any kind of animal people. Critical Role can keep its version to itself, thank you. Dragonborn should absolutely have Darkvision based on the way 5th edition handles it. You're telling me that a race of creatures that, while not actually related to dragons, shares their colors, physicality, breath attack, and language, but doesn't share dragons' ability to see in the dark? I get that too many races have Darkvision due to 5th edition's poor implementation, but come on! I've got a lot, but I'll go with Genasi having colored skin. They could have gone with boulder, water, flaming, or airy skin, but no! Just the same thematic coloring that otherwise makes no sense and doesn't do anything. Making so many races retroactively Fey. Why make everything Fey? If we made everything Fey because it's from some fairy tale, we'd have Fey werewolves and trolls and gnomes and basically most of the monsters. Give the other creature types a chance to shine. Race should be replaced with ancestry, just so we can have ABC. Ancestry, background, class. No other reason. There's an OCD joke there, but it's beneath me. Tieflings were more interesting before. People, and even WotC, played the base concept entirely wrong. There was so much potential in someone being demonic by nature from deals with the devil made by ancestors. And then, WotC threw it all out the window to make them way more generic wooby characters. Imagine a lineage of wealthy merchants. They sell the best goods in the kingdom and have a wide-spanning trade empire. Their latest daughter is a tiefling. That means at some point somebody cheated. Someone made a deal with the devil, and the natural assumption will be that their entire trade empire is founded on demonic ritual. People wouldn't necessarily hate the child themselves, just what the child represents. I just see so much potential there, but all I hear is how boring and uninspired they are because of how tiefling racism is written in the books. It feels like an idea WotC never truly got across and then abandoned once they saw how everyone was ditching the tiefling lore anyway. Vanilla tieflings are really overrated. Their most outstanding ability is to save you the words, "My character is really hot," when introducing yourself to the party. Now, PSA, any character can be hot. Other than that, the only real indication that someone in the party is playing a tiefling is the occasional, "I have fire resistance." Blech. No one should be able to tell the sex of a dwarf just by looking. Dwarves, female and male, both have beards. Go read The Dwarves by Marcus Heights. You'll love it, trust me. Orcs have been so watered down as a race that they have essentially become what half-orcs were 20 years ago. Today's half-orcs are just greener, taller humans. I miss when orcs were monsters. Tieflings, Aasimar, Genasi, and other such plain-touched races should instead be lineages like the Damphir, Hexblood, and Reborn. It was sort of like this in previous editions, and the idea should be brought back and made more open and customizable. For example, in 3.5, Saladrin, Azure Blood, Tahini, etc. were specific race and plane combinations. Why can't I have my tiefling be from a family of elves, or my Aasimar from a family of orcs? Nothing stops me from flavoring it that way, but there is a leap of logic if you need to make and a discussion to be had with the DM. Better to remove that mental hurdle entirely and put it in the core rules so that it becomes a natural part of character creation for those races. You should consider not just how your body-soul family line is tied to the planes, but also how you are biologically connected to the material world. Adding to the above, Dragonborn should be one of those lineages rather than a distinct species. Dragon's but a person is frankly rather lazy. Back in 3.5, people transformed into Dragonborn by ritual. 4th edition changed that lore. There's no reason why 5th edition 5.5, 6, or 1 D&D can't change it back and say Dragonborn are species with familial magical ties to dragons and or dragon magic. Fizbins even has a draconic gift where you can transform into a Dragonborn, so it's already in the current lore. It would make so much more sense for a person with dragon qualities to be the product of someone who somehow gains dragon magic or blood tied to their body heritage, rather than being an entire species. I think it's dumb that every species is now going to be equal. I get it, in 5th edition, the stat spread and skill gain spread is so confined that some people feel it's too debilitating not to have the ideal 2-to-1 lineup. But the idea that a gnome can put in the same effort as an orc and be perfectly on par with them kind of feels wrong. Species are not created equal, and that's fine. Just like not having perfect stats on your character. The vast majority of furry races make complete sense in most settings. We're talking about the same worlds where a kaiju-sized living furnace can kill the average person just by existing near them as a regular creature able to evolve into existence. Let alone how any moderately advanced wizard could probably make a sentient race in a weekend with a box of 20 squirrels. The Warforged auto-gnomes aren't as incongruent with most fantasy settings as people think. Ultimately, the difference between those races, or how most people play them, is basically the same as a slightly more sentient golem. And basically, no one would say that the entire construct creature class shouldn't exist in your worlds. A wide variety of wild and out-of-there races have become an aspect of 5th edition's identity. It feels fair to suggest that people who want to dilute that to a point of barely including anything beyond the player's handbook, or sometimes not even all the PHB races, should maybe try another system or just an older version of D&D. There are way too many races. I hate it when players want to pick a super exotic race. It's exhausting having every NPC react to seeing a super rare species every time. Also, there are way too many furry races. Having an anthropomorphic animal race for every kind of animal is lazy and boring. The art of the Monsters of the Multiverse version of the Minotaur is just... it's friggin' unnecessary. I hate the cutification of new art for established races. I don't want cute. I want realistic. Make something unappealing to the human eye, please. Halflings are totally unnecessary as a race, and the fact that they only exist as a Tolkien homage does not justify their existence. There is nothing unique about them, and the only cultural quirk they have is likes good food and is friendly, which are universal traits for most mortal races, or good people in general. The only thing they actually have is luck, and even the designers realized it was dumb to tie luck to a race, so they made it a feat, which isn't true for any other racial bonus as far as I know. If you like the fantasy of being small and nimble, then be a gnome. If you like the fantasy of checks, notes, having food that tastes good, be literally any race and write that down in the backstory. In fact, here's a fun exercise. Make literally any halfling character you can think of, not stat-wise of course, then look at the rest of the races. If you're honest with yourself like a good boy, girl, or they, them, and not a die-hard halfling fan, I promise that at least 80% of the time you'll find a race on that list that would make the exact same character more interesting and fit better into any given setting. I personally think elves should be rare, isolationist, kind of ethereal, and often oblivious to the troubles of many short-lived races. I prefer how Tolkien, Old Warcraft, or even Friarren does it. The random guard doesn't need to be an elf, and it kinda annoys me when settings have them in every village alongside humans in almost equal quantity. They just end up being humans with long ears. Same with half-elves. Alright, I'll bite. I hate half-orcs. Orcs are subhuman, brutal, stupid, and cruel. War pigs created to destroy with no redeeming value other than as monsters to be slain so heroes can prove themselves. That's how Tolkien wrote them. And it's been that way in every edition of D&D. Orcs can never be heroes, so anyone who wants to be a heroic orc has to have a half-human lineage. The subhuman species can only be redeemed with the blood of a civilized, intelligent race. Maybe I've spent too long with Shadowrun, Warcraft, and the 40k universes, where the orcs are on a level with humans, as heroic as anybody, and more heroic than most. Kham didn't need a human ancestor to get us on his side. Thrall isn't an uplifted orc, improved by his betters. They're just heroes. At my table, orcs are smart enough, good enough, and strong enough on their own. I'm ready to retire this whole subhuman war pig thing. All respect to JRRT, and I definitely don't believe we need to enforce a human lineage to make an orc a player character. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and if you want to do us a huge favor, join our membership. You'll get outtakes, maybe some other fun stuff, but primarily early access to videos. Get your firsts in here, folks. We love you all. Be safe. See you next time. Bye for now.